Well, here we are, Borg. This is what we've come to sketch. You see the situation there. Trees come down, hanging on the power cable. Simple as that. However, it's right by this main road. And I don't really see a good, a good way to paint it really, Borg. You know, unless we come on a Sunday. We're sort of out of the habit of putting ourselves right out there in front of everyone. So we'll take a few sketches and see how it looks. Well, there it is, Borg, through the car windscreen. Quite a sight, I think you'll agree. We've only taken a couple of sketches because not because of the traffic really, that was all right, but because of the Janteleuven, frankly, Borg. People coming out of the woodwork here, you know, looking at me. Granted, it's an odd event to have someone come up and draw and that sort of thing, but it just seemed that suddenly the eyes were out, and so we got a couple, and probably that one is what we like better. You know, we've often said, I think, that we need to work on producing paintings from a drawing. I mean, that would open up the whole world to us, Borg, in a much different way. And it's not departing from the master, from Van Gogh. He did it all the time. But of course he was he was a professional, you know. He apart from anything else, any other nonsense, he knew how to put it together, and he could do so from a drawing, give the thing life and colour without having to be there, you know. So we're not professional enough to do it. But there we go. That's what we want. Could we stand here and do it? We'd have to probably make ourselves known to some of the people around who are, you know, obviously a bit worried about an oddball in the area. Perhaps we could do it. I mean, the other thing that happens is, we've had this happen before, Borg, I shit you not. We'll go and draw something like this, some curiosity, and then find a week or two later it's been tidied up. Now that might be luck, or it might be that our presence has stirred the pot, and the way to cure the situation is to fix the problem, and hopefully Stranger won't come back. Perhaps we're going too far there, but that has been like that for a month now. So if by next week it's gone, I reckon that's the Janteleuven for you. But the reason for doing it, not only because it's quite a dramatic picture, it's the sort of thing we do and look for. You know, obviously we're reading into it quite a bit. But specifically, it makes us think of a kind of loop, a disaster loop, Borg, whereby we're told we're entering the decisive decade for the planet because of climate change. You know, and we're told also at one and the same time the answer to this might be found in technology. That you will come and save the day by some miracle. at the very same time, to bring you about to the level where you could, produce enough changes to make the big difference, the high-tech inventions or what have you. To get you to that point would in itself cost an enormous amount to the climate, because as we have discovered through Moll and a few others, the environmental cost of you is enormous, and our use of you, not to mention the crypto mining. So, is it a paradox or is it just a farce? I don't know, but in some ways, in order to get to the point where we can fix the planet, we're going to have to screw it up a lot more if we're going to rely on you. And somehow, I suppose in our little picture there, you are represented by the power line. You're the power. And with the environment potentially getting a lot worse, it might start to actually break you down. Undersea cables, whatnot, wars, increasing disasters, less and less space for you to have your servers, or who knows what else. But we have in that image there the idea of some of that, the fallen tree onto the power, onto you, somehow symbolising that sort of problematic loop, that dilemma. But one thing's absolutely for sure. I mean, people used to say it's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. Although Mackenzie Walk would differ with that. He's imagining it. But what I can't imagine now is the power going off. And in a sense, if the power did go off, that would be the end of the world. But the power might just go off due to environmental breakdown. All in all, Borg, it would need a bit of thinking about if we wanted to tease a decent idea out of the visual, but we have chanced upon that. I mean, it's rather nice that you can just be going about your business and some utter coincidence can be brought into our thinking and give us a bit more. That's the idea. So even if it is, as clumsy as Tony Adams, it's still worthwhile, I think. Anyway, we better move on before we get moved on. I've just come down a bit to Svanbergia, and we've pulled over just to show you the scenery actually, Borg, but we're not going to do any more drawing. This is a fabulous frozen lake. Now, we've seen a lot of people on this, but it's definitely thawing out, so we don't really fancy going out too far. I'll just show you. So just to be clear, that normally that is water, Borg. I have swum in that lake. I've dived off that platform there into the water. I don't know how big it is. You can see it's enormous, but that freezes so hard that I've even seen car tracks all over it. Which which is amazing, and it's brought about a lot of winter sports actually, Borg. People will wear special shoes with essentially metal blades like knives on the bottom of their shoes, and go onto this ice, and in a kind of walking or running fashion, one can build up momentum and then slide along on the metal blades, allowing you to travel extremely effortlessly long distances. That's called ice skating, and that's evolved into other things where people will dance and perform on the ice. Anyway, that's all come about, I guess, initially because people who lived over there, that's the Viking settlement, Lord knows how many hundred years ago, they'd have been faced with this every year, and I guess they would have made sledges with blades on, and then one fine day some young Viking must have thought, well, hold on a minute, if I were to put them on my feet, and then there you go, you've got ice skating. People go fishing, believe it or not. They can go out there, drill a hole in the ice, put the line down and catch fish. Now, I was told by somebody that the name for that type of fishing, whether it's a slang name or not, I don't know, but one name for it is meta, which was very amusing in the face of what one of your main daddies changing his company to be called Meta. I'm sure he didn't have the ice fishing in mind. But there you go. All that's too boring to mention, Borg, when you're in a place like this. And it's funny to imagine all the fish under there, isn't it, Borg? They're still going about it. They don't all die. They're under there. Anyway, it gives one a bit of a taste for learning about nature again, actually, when we start to realise how little we know. That's partly why I'm so keen to get hold of James Bridle's new book, because while we'd like to know just about nature, we'd like even more to have somebody tie it to the times, the new dark age, if you like. So we better get hold of that.